For centuries, Alderaan stood as a beacon of hope in the Republic. The Empire came.
I have chosen to test this station's destructive power on your home planet of Alderaan.
Peace while you suffer. The Emperor drowns you in black waters.
He wants me to be Darth Revan again. Serve him as I did centuries ago. He made me a Sith Lord and named me Darth Revan.
The Force does not control you. You saved Ugandan using something you thought was important. But your motives are still aligned with the Jedi Code.
To arms, men! Defend the throne!
Anakin Skywalker was weak. I destroyed him. He was weak and foolish like his father. So I destroyed him.
Master Windu, you have fought gallantly. Worthy of recognition in the archives of the Jedi. It is finished.
To them it is.
I have been waiting for you. Is it true that he is the chosen one?
It's Alex,
It's Harrison.
and welcome back to State of the Galaxy.
What state it is.
I know, right? That seems to be your thing now. Just a comment that it's not a great place right now. But anyway, so we are going to cover a few topics today. First of which is favourite quotes. So, as you've probably learned quite recently, I am a little bit better at quoting entire scenes from films than I actually give myself credit for.
Oh, a little bit is an understatement.
So, yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to reveal our favourite quotes or monologues. So let's do quote and monologue, or quote and just talking scene. And discuss them, maybe flesh them out a bit, and then we'll move on to our citation needed, recently added section of the podcast, and then we'll also go into Harrison's topic as well. So, favourite quote, first of all, from you?
You're going to know it straight away.
Yeah.
It's from Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
They're at an opera.
Okay, first of all, not a quote. That's a
Kind
scene.
of a quote.
That's a scene.
I'm taking it as a quote. I'm taking
You
a part
could
of it.
you could take. Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis Wise as a quote?
Yeah, that's my quote.
Okay, that's
I
your
want
quote.
that one. It's
Okay.
pretty cool.
Well, in that case, then you have to choose a different scene as your favourite scene.
It's got to be General Kenobi fighting General Grievous. Revenge of the Sith. Love that scene.
Just all the dialogue, I'm guessing,
Yeah, and
as
then-
opposed to just the scene.
In the original trilogy, I think it's got to be the Death Star running the first in New Hope. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Okay, but the back and forth's pretty cool. It starts off pretty calm with them checking in, and then you've got all of the Luke, I can't shake him.
Yeah, and stay on target and all that business.
Shooting wedge. Okay, fair enough. So my favourite quote, and it's of no mystery to the people who keep up with our Light of the Saber Facebook page, is "To be angry is to be human," which was said by Padme in Episode 2. And then my favourite scene would probably have to be the christening of Darth Vader after Mace Windu gets tossed out the window, and I was actually attempting to learn that scene. I don't know how good. Do you want me to do it?
If you want. It's
Oh,
up to you.
man.
Maybe-
Okay, so
maybe save that for next time.
no, I can do it. Okay, so Mace Windu's. I'll set the scene. Mace Windu's just been chucked out the window. Lightning fizzles out. Ah, what have I done? You're fulfilling your destiny, Anakin. Become my apprentice. Learn to use the dark side of the Force. I will do whatever you ask. Good. Good. Just help me save Padme's life. I can't live without her. To cheat death, a power only one has achieved. But if we work together, I know we can discover the secret. I pledge myself to your teachings. Good. Good.
Sounds really like E.T.
Dude, listen to the scene again. His breathing's all over the place.
Yeah.
The Force is strong with you. A powerful Sith you will become. Henceforth, you will be known as Darth Vader. And he says, "Thank you, my master." It's all lies. But yeah.
And the Jedi get absolutely decimated.
Yeah. So, I think that scene still needs work. I think there are a few words that I got back from, but
your tone of voice changed about 6 times.
it did. But to be fair, his really does.
No.
If you later on in the scene when he says, "Because the council did not trust you, my young apprentice," he sounds so much like Dooku. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, rewatch that scene.
Hashtag Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to try and take apart Padme's line because I've already done it so many times. I think the first time I covered it was when Tom and I rewatched episode 2. So I'm not going to recover that. But obviously we've got, and we've already covered Darth Plagueis the Wise. General Grievous' fight scene with Obi-Wan. I personally love some of the dialogue in that, especially just the "hello there."
Yeah.
Simply because supposedly that's what Ewan McGregor based most of his Obi-Wan adaptation around, was when Alec Guinness said "hello there" to R2 on Tatooine. So let's move on to our new topic, or new segment, I suppose, which is our Citation Needed segment. Citation Needed, for those who don't know, is where we just where we're out and about, it'll be at work, on the street, just wherever we are, whatever we're doing. If we hear someone talk about Star Wars and they mention something that we're not too sure about, we first of all talk about it, and then we research it, see if it's true or not, and just what that would kind of mean for the galaxy.
And then we bring the findings back to our lovely
Exactly, that's
podcast.
exactly. We bring the findings back to you. So I was talking to a young chap at work, and he said that apparently in the Freemakers story, which isn't official canon, but as you've probably picked up already, we love to cover stuff that's no longer canon. Yeah. So he said that apparently in the Freemakers series there is a lightsaber that is capable of destroying planets. So with that information, and only that information, what do you think, Harrison?
Well, easy. You turn it on, point it downwards, drop it, it goes right away.
That's funny you should say that, because I don't know if you've seen the Robot Chicken sketch where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's coming through the door. He says, "Hey, Obi-Wan, hold this," and he just slips and drops it, and you can hear all the people screaming as the lightsaber plummets through.
Noises,
Yeah. So no, fair enough. I mean, it is an energy blade that is capable of slicing through anything, but it doesn't say that it's capable.
Resistant materials.
Yeah, I mean, Mandalorian steel for one, blast doors and things like that. So
Magnagal staffs. Yeah,
so it would be capable of slicing through anything, but it doesn't say that it's instant. So it would take time in order to burn through anything, much like a welding torch or anything like that. So in terms of like this lightsaber being capable of destroying planets, what do you think?
It depends, really. Is it amplified through a bigger power source or converter?
It's not like a Death Star. It's like a lightsaber.
And it'll take a long time, but yeah, I mean, eventually, I guess it'll be achievable.
Okay.
It seems so vast of a thing. It's really hard to believe.
Yeah. So, if we drop into what's canon at the moment very quickly, the most powerful saber, do you know what that is? In new canon.
No idea.
It's the Dark Saber.
Thought so, but I didn't want to assume.
No, that's fine. So the Dark Saber, its powerfulness not only comes from, it's just because it almost kind of trails as it moves, very much like the sabers in Rebels, anyway. But it also it absorbs the light of a given space, not entirely.
Well, isn't it?
Huh?
It's one of a kind as well, isn't it?
As far as I'm aware, well, at least during the time that we see it, it is, because it's one of the original sabers. So I assume that back then it was more frequent. So it absorbs the light of a room, not entirely, but it sucks in the light a bit, and it also harnesses the emotions of the user. So when Sabine Wren freaked out in Rebels, it would have become slightly more powerful. It would have harnessed Darth Maul's passion and his hatred, no doubt, and certain other things like that. So it is quite a powerful saber, as opposed to other sabers that we've seen in the Star Wars canon. Of course, with non-canon stuff, we've seen loads of stuff. Like in Star Wars fan films, we've seen Sith enhance their lightsabers with the use of Force Lightning. We've seen various other lightsabers in the Force Unleashed.
That one that sets stuff on fire in the Force Unleashed is cool.
Yeah. we've probably seen other lightsabers that are more powerful than the dark saber, but obviously you've got to put a cap on something, otherwise where does the limit happen?
Saber staff. I've seen a lot of in the other.
Yeah, but what is a saber?
non-film.
What is a saber staff other than just a glorified single saber?
Yeah,
It is just two sabers.
a lightsaber on a stick, and really.
It's just two lightsabers whacked together.
Yeah.
But so we're going to dive in now into the segment where we actually explore this and find out the information surrounding it, see whether it's true or not, and then maybe again discuss it. Because again, it's not official canon, but that doesn't mean in some story it didn't happen. Because we like to remember the old stuff, or stuff that's still being made, but
glory days
may exist in a different realm. So it's known as the Khyber Saber, and it's a sword that was made out of several pure Kyber Crystals, which suggests perhaps that the lightsabers of the Jedi don't always harness pure Kyber Crystals.
No, maybe they have either faulty ones, or maybe they're not as
potent.
How are Kyber crystals made?
Well, Kyber Crystals, come on man, you've seen the Clone Wars. So,
you know, maybe there's
they're
different ways
harnessed
to make
from
them.
planets like Ilum. And with new canon, instead of just going into, like, it's not like the 2D Clone Wars with Barriss. You go into a temple or a cave, and the Kyber crystal chooses you, and it usually gives you some kind of trial in order to prove your worthiness.
So maybe the purity of the crystals is maybe like aging or genetics. Maybe it's corrupted over time, or not as potent anymore.
So before the dawn of the Old Republic, a Jedi Master forged a sword made of pure Kyber crystals, which was known as the Khyber Saber. As the first lightsaber, the Khyber Saber was said to magnify the wielder's force powers 1,000-fold.
Oh, this is why it destroys planets.
There we go. So upon wielding it, he discovered its creative potential to reshape landscapes, destroy whole planetary bodies with a single swing.
Why didn't you mention that earlier? Then I wouldn't have said, "Oh, it's impossible to use."
Like I said, we've got to go. How this segment will work is we hear it as a raw bit of information. We don't explore it really until we've discussed its potential as an idea.
Now it sounds like it can destroy planets pretty easily.
Yeah, because it's magnifying the person's force capabilities. But apparently the Khyber Saber was destroyed when they realised how dangerous it was, and the fragments were scattered throughout the galaxy. So like you said before we started the podcast, very reminiscent of Infinity War.
Basically, the gauntlet is the saber.
Yeah. It doesn't specify here, at least. It may do further into the article whether the lightsaber was any more or any less than a standard length of blade. But it appears to sport a blue hue on it, and its hilt, it looks fairly basic. Although, to be fair, for those who don't know, the Freemaker Adventures is a Lego spin-off series. So, yeah, there's not much more. I mean, there's stuff to talk about, the race for the Khyber Saber and stuff like that, because it involves the Emperor and a Z-Wing, apparently, whatever that is. So,
Be some wonky spaceship.
yeah, I mean, I'm going to open up the article now and see what a Z-Wing was. Assuming that it does not give us a picture. Thank you for not giving us a picture. But yeah, so we, I mean, I'm flummoxed whether this would actually be too powerful to have.
Well, if you swing it by, like, not even knowing it can destroy planets, and you just give it a casual whirl, maybe.
Yeah, then you'd end up destroying the planet that you're standing on.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know, then it's uber dangerous. You can't fight with it. You destroy most of everything.
Yeah.
You'd just be like cutting a planet up into, like, basically you'd be preparing a salad out of a planet. Really, you'd just be like
a salad.
chopping board. There you go.
Yeah.
Anyone heard of a Caesar salad? Well,
Yeah.
here's a Caesar Alderaan.
Here's a Caesar planet. But I personally always like to speculate on new sabers, but obviously we've had a fair amount of bad ones in the past. Like when Kylo Ren's came out, it caused a rift between fans. And no doubt, if this thing became canon, it would also cause a rift.
I mean, his Kylo Saber's cool, but it's so impractical.
Yeah.
You just got to saber the moment, you know.
There, and it's not. I know lots of people say, "Oh, because the tongs on the side you could cut your wrists off or with that." But you forget that there is a actual metal crossguard that then has the exhaust valves on it, where your hand would fit quite comfortably underneath
some
that.
protection.
But obviously, for a normal saber user, it is unpractical because you also have to cater your fighting style towards having those tongs there, and at the same time, it is an unstable lightsaber crystal anyway.
I mean, if it was a stable lightsaber, it would be very useful. It would be very practical.
And we have seen a stable crossguard saber within new Star Wars canon, which was in Star Wars Rebels on Malachor 5, I want to say, when Ezra, Kanan, and
Citation needed there.
well, yeah, okay, fair. I mean, I know he does find it. I remember seeing it. I just don't remember the planet. And that's where they encounter Darth Maul and eventually Vader. So yeah, so we're going to cover your topic now. So we finished up with that, and your topic is the Skywalker now Ray Saber. Am I correct?
Yeah.
At the end of episode 8, for those who haven't seen it, but you've had enough time in order to do so, the Skywalker / Ray Saber was shattered in half during a false tug of war between Rey and Kylo Ren aboard Snoke's destroyer. So, lots of people have speculated that we're going to see a double-bladed saber staff because now the lightsaber's been torn in half. But as far as I'm aware, that's not how Kyber Crystals work.
It's not got a blade end on the other side.
Exactly, but it's not like a clean. I mean, I dare say that when the hilt split in half, from what it looked like, at least during the actual splitting of it, it was a clean cut.
Yeah.
But the Kyber Crystal won't have split perfectly. And again, I don't believe that's how Kyber Crystals work.
No.
You can't just cut them in half and then have a double.
You don't want to muck about with unstable sabers. We've had that enough as well.
I mean, if I remember correctly, I think Darth Maul's saber actually wielded more than 2 Kyber or synthetic
I think it
red.
wielded 4.
Okay, so a couple of synthetic red crystals, and the lore behind that, whether canon or not, is pretty cool. So, do you think, or would you like to see her wield a completely different weapon, or would you like to, as you speculated before the beginning of this podcast, go back to Arc 2 and retrieve Luke's saber, assuming that's even there, because we never saw it on his person.
No, but I think he would have probably put in like a safe or box or something in my guess.
No, fair. Yeah. So is that what you'd like to see?
Either to see her go and get Luke's saber, or to either find or have a couple of the other sabers that maybe some of Luke's old apprentices used, and like sort of disassemble and remake one out of her own style, like making a new Ray Saber 2.0.
I mean, I'd like to see the construction of a saber because I don't know whether you remember this, but we got the opportunity to see a construction of a lightsaber from scratch as far back as Return of the Jedi, which was a deleted scene just before Luke went into Jabba's palace.
We saw further back as well, didn't we? We saw her in the Knights of the Old Republic with the twins.
Well, I know, if you're talking about timeline, yes, but I mean, in terms of the stuff that came out as media content. So
I mean,
it would be nice to see an actual on-screen construction of a lightsaber.
Even if she just sort of puts it together and it's mostly made already, it's still pretty cool.
Yeah, it would be nice just to see that construction, and then finally Rey would have her own saber, because a lot of what she's been doing at the moment is just borrowing other people's stuff. Like the gun that she got that was given to her by Solo, and then
the shooting face is like,
and the lightsaber was almost like an unintentional hand-me-down. So,
and the Millennium Falcon by extension, I would say as well. She kind of borrowed that a lot.
So it'd be nice to see Rey actually have something of her own. I know she's got her staff, but at the same time, that's not going to be something that she's going to be able to use against Kylo Ren.
She could put like a blaster in it and stuff, like a gun staff or something.
I don't want to see another gun weapon. Gun weapon. Another gun hand-to-hand combat weapon, because ever since Ezra's, I'm not.
I mean, it'd be cool to see her shoot like First Order Stormtroopers and stuff, but
we've already seen her shoot First Order.
Yeah, with a gun staff. Can you imagine it? It'd be so cool. Not necessarily like bad idea, but it'd still be cool.
I mean, as a weapon, I think it would be a nice prototype, but at the same time, I don't know. But for me, I think I'd like to see either a completely new weapon, or she actually goes and does the Jedi harvesting. Because as far as we're aware, although Ilum is very close to the location or former location of Starkiller Base, and was rumored to possibly be Ilum, which would make sense, I guess, because if the weapon of Starkiller Base harnessed any kind of Kyber Crystal fuel, it would make sense to build it within a planet that naturally grew them anyway.
I mean, they can't go back to Jeddah and get more, can they? Because they kind of leveled that.
And I think it was in the Ahsoka Tano book that there's a scene that depicts her going back to Ilum and seeing that the Empire had captured it. So, I mean, that's up to interpretation.
It would make sense to capture it, wouldn't it? Kind of the Jedi going to make more sabers when
Yeah.
they're meant to be wiped out.
So it would be
imagine
interesting
they
to
could
see her do the trials, maybe. I mean, we still need to see the Jedi trials,
Yeah,
but actually do like the
9 films to see that.
the harnessing, the harvesting of a crystal, and also what kind of test the crystal would give her.
I think her test would be something to do with her parents, like a
Yeah, the temptation thing.
Yeah, like
because she failed the first time around with the seaweed hole.
Yeah,
where you went straight to the dark. You didn't even try and stop yourself. So it would be interesting to see her actually reflect on that experience and be like, maybe I should wait and see how this plays out.
Maybe she needs a little darkness and become.
Well, she actually has a lot of darkness,
Yeah.
and it's something that I speculated about when Episode 7 came out, but I think this was all the way back into old Nerdcast streams, was that when she defeated Kylo Ren, knocked him down, the way that she did that was very similar to how Luke disarmed Vader in Return of the Jedi, where it was very much an aggression offense.
I mean,
as
sometimes
opposed,
you just need to get in there and make people realise.
you do, but it's not the Jedi way.
Not many things are.
So she could have been harnessing her dark side, and again, she really harnessed it when she was going up against the Turing Guards. So you could argue that this is just a new generation of Jedi, and as Rey is pretty much the leader of that, she can have she can do what she wants. It'll probably be more like a Grey Jedi Order as opposed to anything like we've seen in the prequels. But at the same time, from my perspective at least, I found that she was homing in on those darker emotions when she was in the frenzy of battle.
I mean, I think you kind of need a mix. I think.
Well, you do. I mean, that again, that comes back to my favourite quote: "To be angry is to be human," because you need all these emotions in order to just kind of live.
Because as much as the Jedi have balance and their emotions are stable, they don't get angry as such. Maybe that was their major flaw. I mean, they get wiped out quite a lot.
Yeah.
Throughout the stories and the non-canon Knights of the Old Republic, they seem to die a lot.
Yeah, so
maybe that is a massive flaw to fight the dark side. Maybe you need to fight it with the dark side.
And that's why Mace Windu was so much stronger than his counterparts, because he allowed the dark side to enter but not to corrupt.
And he'd previously killed a dark side user. Yeah. Don't know who. That might be a citation needed, but obviously he got a red crystal for Purple Blade.
I think he had something to do with Quinlan Voss's downfall, possibly. I'm not too sure.
Quinlan Voss was quite further in than when Mace Windu had his saber. It's Clone Wars, isn't it, Quinlan Voss?
Yeah, but I mean, obviously it would have to have happened before Mace Windu died.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it must have happened at some point during that. Well, between Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith.
From what I remember, it said dark side user. It didn't necessarily label it as a Sith that he killed. But I can't think who on earth it might have been. It might have even been a Sith, but I don't think so.
Okay, again, we'll have to look into that.
Hashtag citation needed.
Hashtag citation needed. I wasn't sure if there was anything else you wanted to cover in this episode. It's worth mentioning that there's someone I came across. I think it may have been Stupendous Wave. I'm not too sure. It was either that or another channel. But they're currently working on what looks like a Vader fan film, and they're bringing back Mace Windu.
Oh, nice.
In that, which should be cool.
In the expanded universe, didn't he have robotic hands?
Did
he survive the fall?
I don't know on that front. I remember Graham told me way back when that when he was thrown out of the window, he was picked up by a Jedi on a speeder. But I don't know.
It's not like you can use the Force to regrow missing limbs. So they would have done that with Vader
if you could. This isn't Deadpool.
Or anyone else.
No, fair. But we'll hopefully cover that maybe as another citation needed thing. But last topic of today, bizarre things in Star Wars. And I was talking again to my friend Ben, and he seems to have a track record of bringing up some amazing points. But his one today was Naboo, planet very much like Italy, Venice, in terms of architecture and just kind of living style. Obviously, it has a futuristic element to it. But then you've got the swamps, and as far as we're aware, there's nothing outside of those two kind of very different living environments. What on earth is the giant power room for? What is it powering? What are they doing? Where is that all going? And what's the extent of that? Does it cover the entire surface of the planet? Or...
I mean, as well, Naboo's such a big planet, and I think it's only got 2 settlements on it as well.
So what on earth?
So they got like a planetary shield that they forgot to tell everyone about? Or...
Well, if there is, they apparently had that off when the Trade Federation.
I mean, is there some forgotten relic that is just sort of battery charging for 1,000 years?
Why on earth would it need an entire room? If it needed an entire room that size, I'd turn it off.
Yeah.
It's like, this is not worth it.
Save the environment, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why we've only got one city, it's all polluted.
But it's and this was another point I brought up. It would be different if you saw like cargo ships coming in and out, I don't know if there was like a naturally occurring electrical element or something that could be harvested in that way. It would make sense then if you saw ships coming in and out, bringing in power converters and things like that, and then distributing it to places like Coruscant and places like that. But you don't.
No, you don't really see.
You don't even see like a vendor like you do in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Instead of cabbages, it's like electrical power converters.
Yeah. I got some electricity juice here.
Not my electricity, no.
Take it all you want.
So, yeah, I generally don't understand what all that's for.
And what happens if you don't pay your bill? You get an electrical debt collector come along and take your power converters.
I don't know whether it was just during the production of Star Wars Phantom Menace, did they just think, nah, we don't want them fighting in a futuristic landing zone, we want them to go into like visually stunning lasers everywhere, laser doors.
Maybe it's like a power generator that they use to power the whole city.
But what are they powering?
Well, maybe it's just
what on
the
earth?
electricity
There are like
in the
5
city.
lights
Yeah.
and a door.
Yeah, you know, gotta have to
How?
doors.
I mean, they are super inefficient if that's what it takes to power that door.
It's an old place, isn't it? You never know. There might be some stupid thing like maybe it charges the ships, or maybe there's fuel and ships. Maybe they use it to generate fuel, like drilling. Or
that's also something that I don't understand, because I'm guessing from what you took from that film and just from the film that when you saw that room, you're like, okay, so that's generating some kind of power.
Maybe it's terraforming. Maybe it's to generate recyclable oxygen, like throughout the planet, or.
But from what you saw from the film, I'm guessing presume that this is some kind of energy. Right, so I can't believe I've got my point. So with the energy generated, why are they in poverty? That's the other thing about Star Wars, especially the Phantom Menace. And I know, yeah, it's a kids' film, but
because there've been no wars at that point either. It's not like you can blame a war on it.
Well, no, but you can blame the fact that the Republic weren't delivering food supplies and stuff. That's something that's really bizarre. Like Naboo's in poverty, but yet Padme has like 6 houses, and they eat eat pears and stuff. It seems like a really bizarre poverty. So, and again, the same kind of thing applies to Anakin when you see him on Tatooine, where he's like, oh, we're part of slavery and stuff like that. So slavery means having your own home, only having 2 people in that home, having a very spacious home, and also having the ability to build droids and pod racers.
It just seems like Star Wars, there's so much stuff, like excess amount of useful stuff, that there's just whole junkyards and planets where it's like,
well,
it's valueless.
It's not just that, but it kind of devalues the whole thing of slavery. Because slavery, even within our own history, has been a massive thing.
I mean, it's been used for construction mostly, isn't it?
Exactly. So it would be nice to have seen some of that. And I'm not saying we needed to necessarily see the whipping of children.
No endorsement of slavery.
And stuff like that. But how about this? Just as a scene. As opposed to that really bizarre scene where after Anakin gets like his blood tested by Qui-Gon and then he sends the message out to Obi-Wan and Shmi Skywalker standing at the door like she looks at him untrusting, and I still don't really understand that. But how about this? Like, Qui-Gon's just walking before he gets to Anakin outside. He sees like Shmi Skywalker. I don't know, like she's just taking
She's preparing blue milk.
She's taking her poncho off or whatever, but she's got like a shirt underneath. But as she does it, she drags her undershirt up, and she's got scars up and down her back. That's all you need. And then just for her to become like, oh no, and shut the door. That's all you need to set like this darker undertone. You don't need to see the beating and scarring of children and people being executed in the street. You don't need it. You just need to suggest it. But there was no suggestion of any kind of slavery. Like Bunta Eve. Man, I want to go to Bunta Eve. Doesn't look terrible at all. The Tatooine is a nice climate. I'll sit there, sun lounger, whatever. Doesn't look bad at all. Okay, children just running around in the street, not a care given. Yeah. It doesn't scream terrible.
No, it's like
place.
They've changed the idea of slavery. It's like house slaves, really, by the sound of it.
But the only element of slavery is when Anakin says that there's a chip lodged in his neck or whatever. Yeah. That if he were to escape, they'd blow him up. But
maybe they should have done.
So what? They're confined to the planet. Oh no, they're confined to a planet with infinite resources that they could then do anything with. It's like saying. So, Harrison, do you feel like a slave if I told you that you can go to space?
Well, no one can. No one can.
Okay, so
no, I don't think so.
No, so you'd be perfectly content to do what everyone else is doing and just kind of sit on the planet and do your own thing.
You're content because
you
don't know any difference being anywhere else.
Exactly.
It's like you say, I went to Mars and it was really cool.
I doubt Tatooine has like an archive where they look through and it's like, I really wish I could go to Naboo.
I guess they don't have giant telescopes so they can like super zoom in and see other
planets. So as far like they even said the Republic doesn't exist out there, so there's no official information that's being given to them. They only have like stuff from other star pilots and stuff. Like even when Anakin just assumed that the first pretty woman that he saw was some kind of mystical angel being. There's no concrete information that's being. There's no concrete information that's being given here. So. Okay, I can understand the curiosity, and maybe you're a bit sad that you're unable to do it. I'm sad that I can't go deep sea diving, but I'm not going to go around yelling, I'm a slave!
I'm a slave to my whim of not going underwater.
Because, it's just the impracticality of the situation. I'll just get on with life, and that's it. But it just seems bizarre. I think just that one scene...
You're a slave to the land.
I just think that they needed that scene in order to just give the sense that there's a bit more of a darker undertone.
Or something to that accord.
Because it's not like then people are going to argue, but the prequels were for kids. Really? Because I dare you to go up to a toddler and show them the scene where Anakin gets burnt alive. Yeah. Hey, well, you want to see what I did to this piece of bacon on the grill, but with a person?
And cut 3 out of 4
slightly more brutal.
It's a shame. He's basically lost all 4 limbs.
Well, no, he'd already lost his hand, but he didn't lose that during
all of his flesh limbs are now robot limbs, so he's kind of lost all his limbs in a way.
Yeah.
In the long run.
I mean, kind of a shame. He also lost his wife, Harrison.
His wife
look at the bigger picture here. I mean, everything's looking pretty poo for Harrison. For Anakin at this point.
I mean, he also lost his R2D2 unit.
I doubt.
C3.
I mean, okay, if you're talking about the Clone Wars, but he'd taken a darker path at that point. I don't think he cared.
I think he would have had some sentiment because when he built C3.
Well, you say that actually. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Because when I don't know if this is canon. Citation Needed. Where on Cloud City, when C3PO is broken up into pieces, Vader finds. I don't know whether it's when he captures them or whatever, but he finds those pieces and he has a moment of reminiscing with the head of C3PO. Just because he did build it.
You may become a useful jar for my.
Well, it's not even that. It's just looking at it, and I think it's even silent. He doesn't say anything, and then an officer comes in and the scene continues. But it's just nice to see that he remembers. But yeah. Anyway, we'll wrap up this episode of the podcast. We've got plenty of citations needed that we can cover next week.
I mean, next week we're covering hyperspace, aren't we? So
we're covering hyperspace, and probably 2 weeks down the line now because we're going to have an episode that we'll hopefully record tomorrow. And then we'll have our next episode together 2 weeks down the line. I think to be fair, that'll probably be just after Solo then. Wow.
Yeah, Solo's next week, isn't it?
I'm still haven't booked my ticket, and I feel like such a schmuck.
You might lose it now.
No, I looked just before you arrived, and there are 3 seats still that I want to get. Like the entire front row is untaken.
Well, it's because you got a bit like this.
No, the entire first 4 front rows.
Oh, okay.
You know how the cinema is like. Usually, you have like a conglomeration of seats, and then there's a separate causeway, and then. But still, I mean, I've sat in the.
A lot of people don't like it, believe it or not.
That's insane. I mean, can I understand for 3D maybe, but
I mean,
it is a 3D show
quite-
that I'm going to because it's the
quite
only show.
stressful in your neck.
But anyway, I mean, like I say, there are 3 seats, and there's plenty of back ones and all over the place. I'm not spoiled for choice. I am spoiled for choice, actually. That was wrong. But anyway, whether you are Jedi or Sith, Republic or CIS, First Order, Resistance, Rebels, or Empire. No? Okay. Well, then.
Or whether you are, hello there. Or not.
Just the quote.
Or you know.
We hope you have a very good day, evening, whatever you're doing. May the Force be with you, and we will see you guys next week. Take care.
Don't fly solo.